right.
Okay, see if I get it.
You're great.
Welcome, finally, to Holy Humor in the Meadow with Scott Marrese-Wheeler and
Matthew Mandli.
All right, Matthew's our special guest today. Always, he is a local comedian. He is a yo-yo champion. He is a McFarland High School alum and a frequent attender at Oakland-Cambridge Presbyterian Church. He is gracious enough to rise from slumber to join me up here in the Meadow today for some jokes.
It's generous to make it seem like I go to church that much.
Yeah, I know. Hey, Matthew, to start, I made a pastoral call before all this happened on an older member of my congregation, a woman, let's call her Judy Pearson. And I went over to her house to visit and to check in on her, and she invited me in and sat me in the living room and then said, "Pastor, can I get some iced tea or something for you?" I said, "Oh, that'd be nice, Judy." And so she left, went into the kitchen to get that, and while she was gone, I noticed there was a bowl of peanuts right beside the chair on the little end table, and I helped myself to a handful of those and was eating them, and she came back with the iced tea and served me, and I said, "Judy, I hope you don't mind, but while you were gone, I had a handful of these peanuts." And she looked at me and smiled and said, "Scott, that's okay. I just like to suck the chocolate off of them."
Oh, no.
I know. Another one that I like was a couple of weeks ago, a little boy came out of church and he handed me a quarter as he left. And I said, "Oh, that's very nice." And he said, "Well, my dad said it was for the poor." And I got to thinking just before I put it in the offering plate that my dad also said, "You're the poorest preacher that he's ever heard, and I thought you needed it more." Anyhow, here we are telling jokes in the Meadow. It's Holy Humor Sunday, and lots of people are doing that. And Matthew has brought his yo-yo. We found a place that is a little... See, he is a yo-yo champ. He has disciples at the high school and around town. He's been in national competitions. All right. Oh, you got a joke?
I don't know. I was trying to think of jokes, but then I couldn't get the image of dunking babies in hand sanitizer to baptize them out of my head, so I just decided it was time to stop.
All right, that's good. Well, I've got a few more. So, anyhow, so I had all those really good ones.
Yeah.
The writer of Ecclesiastes in chapter 3, verse 4 says, "There is a time to weep, and there is a time to laugh. There is a time to mourn, and there is a time to dance." And Jesus, in the Gospel of Luke on the Sermon on the Plain, says, "Blessed are those who weep now, for you will laugh." And in the midst of this pandemic, in the midst of all that's going on in our world, the struggles we face, there is lots to laugh about, even in the midst of our tears. So, oh, you looking at something? Anyhow, so, with that, I want to sing a song for you. It's to the tune of Jacob's Ladder. Why do gorillas have big nostrils? Why do gorillas have big nostrils? Why do gorillas have big nostrils? Because they have big fingers. So, anyhow, hey, we're in Wisconsin and Minnesota, and everybody up here loves to tell Ole and Lena jokes, or Ole and Sven. So, Ole, and with the water back behind us, so for some of you, when this freezes, there's ice out there. People in Wisconsin, Minnesota, they love to go ice fishing, and so one day, Ole called Sven up and said, "Hey, Sven, let's go ice fishing." So they grabbed their poles, they got the auger, they went out on the ice. And as they're cutting a hole in the ice, they hear a voice that says to them, "There are no fish under that ice." And they look around, and they move 25 feet down to the next area on the ice, and they start in with their auger. And this time the voice, a little stronger, says, "There are no fish under that ice." And they look around again, and they move further down the ice, and they start again, and finally the voice says, "I said there are no fish under that ice." And Ole, he kind of looks to the heavens and he says, "Is that you, God?" And the voice says, "No, I'm the manager of the ice rink. I said there are no fish under this ice." Anyhow, did you know that tennis is mentioned in the Bible?
Really?
Yeah. It says Moses served in Pharaoh's court. Anyhow, let us join in our call to worship today. In the face of a culture of death, a world of killing fields and gun violence, and a global pandemic that threatens to tear us apart as a community, as a nation, as a world, Christ is at the head of a resurrection parade, transforming our tears and our fears into joy and laughter, giving us dancing shoes for the resurrection party. And this is the glittering joke. He who has danced in the dragon's jaws of death now dances with a dance that is full of nothing less than the fullness of God. This is the dance of the new creation. This is the dance of life out of death. And in this dance, all that was broken, all that was estranged, and all that was alienated, all that was dislocated and disconnected and separated physically, is reconciled and brought together and comes home, is healed and is made whole. So let all of creation be filled with laughter, shouts of joy, yo-yo tricks, as we join in the resurrection dance of new life. Yo-yo trick?
No, actually, I just realized that all of my brothers and I are named after characters in my parents' favorite book.
Really?
Yeah, I'm Matthew, and we got Jacob and Luke and God, and that's the whole joke. It doesn't get better from there.
Oh.
It's just that one of us got to be the main character.
Well, Jacob. Do you know what that means, Matthew?
I mean, he started it all.
Jacob means
Yeah.
laughter.
Oh, I didn't actually
Did you know that?
Jacob's laughter?
Yeah.
I thought it was ladder.
Anyhow. All right. So, you know, Robert Frost and Jimmy Buffett both said, if we couldn't laugh, we'd all go insane. Mark Twain said, the human race has only one really effective weapon, and that is laughter. In The Merchant of Venice, William Shakespeare says, with mirth and laughter, let old wrinkles come. Dostoevsky offers us this thought on laughter. If you wish to glimpse inside a human soul and get to know a person, don't bother analyzing their ways of being silent, of talking, of weeping, of seeing how much they are moved by noble ideas. You will get better results if you watch that person laugh. And if they laugh well, they are a good person. So let me ask you, what makes you laugh? Matthew and I would love to have you post some jokes in the comments section. Favorite joke, maybe there's a religious meme that's funny, or a religious cartoon, as I've been sharing on Facebook. I'd offer that up and love to hear from you about your jokes this morning. So, it's morning and a lot of people out there drink tea in the morning. Do you know how Moses brews his tea?
No, I don't.
He brews. I know, that wasn't... Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Jesus.
Jesus who?
I've been gone 3 days and you've already forgotten me? Oh, what makes you laugh? What makes you laugh? Have you ever laughed so hard you've cried? Have you ever laughed so hard at something that you thought was funny and no one else was laughing? I remember one time a colleague of mine, Ruth Moore, in Indianapolis, and we were helping the children with the children's Christmas program. We were going through this script, and it was something about the animals at the manger. And for some reason, when we got to the part and the child read, and a dog might have been there, it struck us both so funny that we started laughing, and we couldn't stop ourselves from laughing, and we kept laughing harder, and everybody kept looking at us with that strange face. Like, what are you laughing about? It's an inside joke, but I don't know. Have you ever had that moment? Have you ever laughed when there's been so much pain and suffering and sorrow, and you wonder, why am I laughing? And yet, laughing can be healing. Irma Bombeck, some of you may remember her. Irma Bombeck says, there is a thin line that separates laughter and pain, comedy and tragedy, humor and hurt. And maybe that's why the writer of Ecclesiastes says there is a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. These days, there is a lot to make us weep and to mourn. Grief is visiting us all in so many different ways. And some days, we're so stressed and filled with anxiety and anxiousness and uncertainty about what our future holds that we just don't feel like laughing. And yet we catch ourselves laughing because we find ourselves in so much emotional and spiritual pain that we can't believe there is any way out of this situation. And yet, knock, knock.
Who's there?
Who's there? Jesus. Say it again. Come on, come on. Jesus.
Jesus.
Who?
Oh, Jesus who?
Oh, I'm behind the door. So.
I thought that was your tag, like you ended the TED Talk. Like.
No, anyhow. So. Jesus comes out of the tomb, out of death, out of the throes of death and sorrow and pain and suffering, and throws his head back in that famous picture of the laughing Jesus. What makes Jesus laugh? Life. Even in the midst of suffering and death, there is life and a cause for laughter. What made Jesus laugh? Well, maybe Peter having the courage to hop out of the boat and try walking on water and then sinking. Or a little boy in a crowd who has a couple of fish and some loaves of bread and shares, and it's multiplied till it's overflowing with leftovers. Maybe it's children dancing and playing around the crowds who are following Jesus, trying to shush them, and he blesses the kids and says, let them come to me. And maybe it is on a morning in a graveyard, in an empty tomb, the laughter that he is not here, but has risen. What makes you laugh? Good news that is just too good to believe, so that your heart leaps for joy and laughter bursts forth from the depth of your soul? Miles Towns notes that a good joke, in the functional sense, depends on our ability to see the difference between the world as it is and as it could be. A good joke in the moral sense then depends on our ability to see the difference between what is and what should be. A good joke can light up the dark between the two, can help us see one from the other. Not everything that is funny is a joke, and not every funny joke is a good joke. But a good joke helps us see the distance between who we are and who we should be. Yes, friends, there is much to make us sad and sorrowful and tearful in our world. Yet why shouldn't we laugh? We are an Easter people, not just once a year on a Sunday morning, and not just up here in the Meadow or out there on social media, but every day from now on. As Miles Town says, we live in the light Jesus brought to the darkness between what is and what should be. And the joke is on death and this pandemic. And it's a good one, too. It's called life. Blessed are you who weep now, Jesus says, for in the end you will laugh. Amen.
Amen.
How about a yo-yo trick?
How about a yo-yo trick? Goodness. It's windy here.
I know. Matthew is amazing, folks. Amazing. There you go. Let us pray. God of fools, Lord of clowns and smiling saints, we rejoice in this playful prayer that you are God of laughter and of tears. Blessed are you, for you have rooted within us the gifts of humor, lightheartedness, and mirth. With jokes and comedy, you cause our hearts to sing as laughter is made to flow out of us. We delight in holy madness, which becomes the very medicine to heal the chaos of the cosmos, since it calls each of us out of the humdrumness of daily life into joy, adventure, and most of all, into the resurrected life. We who are so easily tempted to barter our freedom for tiny speckles of honor and power are filled with gratitude that your Son's very life has reminded us to value only love, the communion with other persons, and with you, and to balance honor with humor. Blessed are you, Lord our God, for you invite us to be holy fools in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Hey, Matthew.
Hey.
I heard you were a member of a ski club.
Yeah, it has been a little while.
Yeah. So, interesting enough. So, how'd that work out?
Oh, gosh. It has been a little bit since I have told that story.
Yeah. This is for you, Miss Nichols.
This is for Miss Nichols. Gosh, that was about junior year. I was in the Evansville ski team yearbook picture, which is pretty funny because I didn't go to the ski team or
you didn't go to Evansville
at all. And what happened is we were there for a choir trip in Evansville, and I left to go to the bathroom because I can't sit in one place for more than like 20 minutes, as you'll find out very quickly. And I heard it on the announcements that they were doing the yearbook photos in the gym, and I was like, I'm not doing anything better, even though I was on a field trip. I don't know. I didn't have a great attitude about it, but I headed on over to the gym, and the girl's like, what are you here for? And there was a group of people already on the bleachers, and I was like, that one. She's like, ski team? And I was like, I look the part. And so they brought me up to this group of people that was already on the bleachers getting ready to take their pictures. And because I was the tallest one, they had me cut through the whole entire group to stand in the direct center of the picture, taller than anybody else. And not behind me, there was no one behind me because I was very noticeable in the picture. But the guys next to me asked me who I was, and I had to pretend like I was going to pay them so they wouldn't tell on me. But I never paid them, but I also didn't tell them who I was. Now, it's been so long since I've sold this. So I thought everything was fine until about a week later when I got called into the Miss Nichols' office, and she's like, "Could you tell me about the choir trip the other week?" And I was like, I don't really know what you're talking about. And then she handed over this manila folder, which is never, ever a good sign. It had my name on it. And inside of it was the picture of the ski team. And she's like, could you tell me who that is? And my face was circled. And I was like, I don't know who that dashing man in that sweater is. That must be a different guy. And then she's like, okay. And she goes, can you tell me what this is? And she pulled over the piece of paper, and it was a picture of the contract that I signed that certified that I am Matthew Mandli, who appears in that picture. And it was just signed like in crayon, like I don't know cursive. But then I was like, I don't know who that is. It must be a different Matthew Mandli. And then, gosh, I haven't had. It's like the middle of the night for me. I'm used to waking up at 4 p.m. right now.
All right. So here's the moral of the story.
The moral of the story.
Well, the school may not in that moment have found it so humorous. There's a little laughter on the part of God. And the thing is, there is grace and mercy, and you are forgiven, my son. But it was a great prank, and Matthew is available to come to your church and fill in your church directories as a substitute, just like he did with the ski club in Evansville.
Exactly.
So, there you are, folks.
The nice part about it was she told me that I wouldn't get in trouble as long as I didn't tell anybody about it. So if you guys see Miss Nichols at all or hear me about it, tell that story. Don't let me, because I don't want to get in trouble.
Shh. It's just between us. Anyhow, we end this day with this prayer and this sending. The Laughing One called us together so we could share in the laughter of life. The Laughing One sends us out now to carry the joy of life and love to the world. Go out to laugh, to live, and to love. And to have some hand sanitizer. And when you hear a good joke, remember that sharing is a great thing. And may the God of Isaac, that is laughter, the Christ, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, and the spirit of joy be with you both now and forever. And all God's people said, Amen.
Amen.
Friends, go in peace, go in laughter, to live, love, and enjoy this day. Amen.
Amen. Baptismal hand sanitizer. This is the post-credit scene that tells us what the sequel is going to be like.